Okay, so after last night's loss to the Edmonton Oilers and the Sens giving up an embarrassing 8 goals against, the only thing I could think of after that game was Vlad Nemestikov, Ron Hainsey, Mark Borowiecki, Dylan DeMello, and JG Pajot really the glue that was holding this team together all that time last year? Because the Sens have just been absolutely abysmal defensively this season. They just can't seem to get a save when they need it. They give up so many chances 5-on-5. Their penalty killing has been absolutely atrocious as it's operating at around 68%. I mean, those are numbers that aren't going to get you anywhere as far as a playoff chase is concerned. Sens would continue the trend of giving up early goals against as well, something else that has really plagued them this season, as 8 seconds in, Dominic Cahoon would strike. Leon Draisaitl would assist on that one. He wins the draw back to Cahoon. Cahoon takes a shot. It beats Matt Murray. They were talking about something. I forget exactly what it was. The commentators, they're showing the Sens bench. And then I hear the Oilers goal horn go off. And it was just oh, we're letting another goal. 8 seconds in. Woohoo. Yay. And before you know it, it's already 1-0. And the Sens don't even give themselves a chance early on in this one at all. The Oilers would get a power play, 4:15 into the first period. James Neal would strike, get his first of the season, assisted by Nugent Hopkins and McDavid. I think it might have went off Neal skating in, I'm not too sure, but there was no distinct kick motion. He just kind of directed it in. That is a legal play. It's 2-0 Edmonton. We're not even 5 minutes into the first period, and the only thing I could think of is, okay, how ugly is this one going to look tonight? And then 5:38 into the first period, a guy who really needed to get going for Ottawa, just to get all the critics off his back, get even the coaching staff off his back, who you wouldn't want to be your enemy, especially as a young player. Colin White scores, assisted by Dadonov and Nick Paul. Those three were kind of buzzing around the net. The puck came out in front, and Colin White bats it home to make it 2-1 for Edmonton. The goal looked a little bit like a high stick. I personally thought it was going to get called back, but I mean, the Sens really needed that break, and fortunately it counted. I also want to mention that the Ottawa Senators were shooting on rookie goalie Stuart Skinner, playing in his first ever NHL game today. He looked shaky at times, but I think in total he looked okay. So maybe the Edmonton Oilers have found a backup going forward here while Mike Smith is injured. And the theme of giving up power play goals would continue for the Sens as Tyson Barrie would strike 7:20 into the first period on the power play, assisted by Draisaitl and McDavid. Get used to hearing that as this video goes on. Barrie with a slap shot from the point. I mean, it just felt like everything that was getting put towards the net by Edmonton was going to go in that first period, as the Sens goaltenders, plural, because Matt Murray would get yanked after this goal, would just not look good at all in this one for the most part. Their defense didn't look good. Their penalty killing is it is what it is. I don't know why they just can't seem to kill a penalty against teams with any little bit of skill on them. Then off a one draw by Kyle Turris, James Neal would shoot at Marcus Högberg, facing his first shot, I believe, of the game, and he would let in a really weak goal. The Sens definitely need a save on that one. Another power play goal would come at 13:42. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins from McDavid and Draisaitl again. They just ran wild on the Sens offensively tonight, as most teams are doing so far this season. I'm getting really sick and tired of talking about the other teams all the time that always beat up on the Sens. It would be nice to make a video with them winning again for once. It seems like an eternity since I've done that. But it's 5-1 and things are just looking super ugly before Brady Tkachuk comes in and he scores a nice goal finally. I always kind of criticize Tkachuk that he seems to have a hard time scoring a nice goal, as most of his goals seem to come in that 6 to 10 foot radius around the net, of the hard-working, ugly type of variety. He does have some nice redirection goals like tip-ins and stuff like that every now and then as well, but this one was a nice one as he came in down the wing with the puck. It was kind of a partial 2-on-1. There was some Oiler back checkers coming back. He waits out the sliding Oilers defenseman, and he absolutely snipes on Stuart Skinner. That was a really nice goal, and it was a really big goal too, because boy, this game was really getting out of hand early. And then the Sens would finally get a power play of their own. Drake Batherson would snipe on Stuart Skinner as well. That goal was assisted by Mike Riley and Brady Tkachuk, so Tkachuk with a goal and an assist in that first period. That came 17:38 into the first. Big power play goal, and all of a sudden a game that was looking super ugly, well, it's still looking ugly now for both teams defensively and for the goaltenders, but a game that was looking like it could be an absolute, I don't know, 20-1 blowout for the Oilers, all of a sudden is looking more closer. And I just want to say this. I didn't think the Sens were terrible in this game. I didn't think they were terrible in that first period. They just couldn't get a save, and they couldn't kill a penalty. So, I mean, yeah, the score looked way uglier than what the game would have looked had the Sens been able to kill some penalties, get some saves early on. I mean, this game could have easily just been, I don't know, a 2-2 tie or a 3-3 tie, which still wouldn't look that great from a defensive standpoint. But it would look a whole lot better than giving up 5 goals in the first period, that's for sure. And we'd head to the first intermission. 5-3 for the Edmonton Oilers would be the score. And the Sens have dug themselves back in this game. But the second period would begin with the Oilers on the power play as Brady Tkachuk would take a holding penalty late in the first. I thought it was a bit of a soft call, I would say, but I think Tkachuk needs to work on his skating more. He's not the most fleet of foot. He needs to work on his skating so he doesn't need to be caught in those positions where he's grabbing onto guys. I think Tkachuk, if he just moved his feet, took a couple more strides there, he doesn't even give the refs a chance to call that weak penalty, but nonetheless they call it late in the first period. 42 seconds in, Connor McDavid gets his 8th of the season, assisted by Leon Draisaitl and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Again, the Oilers are 4 for 4 at this point in the power play, and all I can think in my head is just don't take penalties. And in the broadcast, in the intermission, I liked how the commentators and stuff were saying, like, oh, this is why you don't want to take penalties against the Oilers. And yeah, they're right. I don't disagree with them. But my gosh, I mean, I don't care who's on the other side on the power play. You have to kill some of those off. You can't let them score 4 power play goals in a total of 5 opportunities tonight. The Sens would eventually kill one off later in the second period, which was a huge victory for me. But my goodness, you got to kill some of those off. You can't let the Oilers go 4 for 4 at this point on the power play. I don't care if they have McDavid, Draisaitl, Ovechkin, Crosby. I mean, I don't care who they have on the other side. You gotta have a better penalty kill than that. Then at 11:31 into the second period with a delayed penalty call, Darnell Nurse would walk in down the slot. He would rip one home off the post and in past Högberg to make it 7-3. And when I said in the first period that this game was looking like maybe it wasn't going to be as ugly by the end of the first because the Sens were crawling back, well, we're back into that territory of it looking really ugly again because the Oilers are up 7-3 at this point. That was assisted by McDavid and Draisaitl. Draisaitl came 1 assist short of the record. Fortunately, he did not get the record. I thought he was going to break the record for sure because the Sens just have a knack for letting guys do historic crap against them every time, it seems like. These superstars just always run up against them, and it's just so frustrating to watch. The commentator said that, it's a savable shot by Nurse. I half agree with that. I think it was a pretty nice shot by Darnell Nurse. He is an underrated guy as far as offense goes. I think he does have more offense in his arsenal than people give him credit for. He's more known for physical play and defensive play. But I think he is a good skater, and especially a guy that size that can skate and can shoot the puck. I think Darnell Nurse has a really bright future ahead of him for the Edmonton Oilers. And then with 17 seconds left in the second, I mean, the Oilers have to make this thing super ugly as they run up the score to 8-3. Kyler Yamamoto receives a nice pass from Draisaitl, and he one-times it home past Högberg. No chance for Högberg on that one. And the Sens are down 8-3, and things are looking pretty ugly. And all I could think of heading into that second intermission was, well, I mean, the Oilers are probably going to put up a 10 spot for sure. This will be the most embarrassing game since probably that 9-2 game that the Sens lost in Buffalo back in November of 2018. One thing I do want to say is that the Sens did not quit at any point in this game, but if you have the combination of you can't get a save, you can't kill a penalty, and you have those two combinations working against you in the same game, I mean, you could play a darn good game 5-on-5 and it doesn't matter. It's still going to look really ugly. Unfortunately, Tim Stotz would make it look less ugly as he would strike on the power play, assisted by Colin White and Josh Norris. A really nice goal for Tim Stotz. So I thought he looked a little more noticeable as the game went on. He had a couple nice dashes there in the third. I would like to see him do that more when the game matters. But he does get receive a really nice pass from Colin White. He comes in on the wing and he zips it by Skinner. It was a really nice shot. I think Stotz, he's going to be more known as his career goes on as a playmaker, but I think his shot is something that's gaining some notoriety. He's got a better release than people give him credit for. Shortly after that, Austin Watson would strike for his third of the season. He just kind of innocently threw it towards the net and it beat Skinner. I don't know if he was screened or not on the play. He might have been, because it went clean in. It was a shot from the high slot area there, assisted by Goodbranson and Tierney. It's 8-5 at this point, and maybe there's a bit of hope for the Sens to come back. I wasn't really banking on it personally. I was just like, okay, cool. I mean, at least the game doesn't look as ugly now. But my goodness, this one ends 8-5 for the Edmonton Oilers, and man, oh man, like 8 goals against, and they give up 7 goals against last Monday in Vancouver. I mean, it's such a trend for them to give up at least 4 or more almost every game this season so far. And just some side notes in this one, Artyom Zub makes his NHL debut. As far as his play was concerned, I thought he played okay. He wasn't like really noticeable, but he wasn't really noticeable for bad reasons either. He was a little late getting to that Kyler Yamamoto slap shot one-timer. But other than that, I mean, I thought he played a pretty sound game for the most part. There's that one play where McDavid kind of went around him. I mean, that's got to be, quite a scary feeling, especially for a guy like him who's never really played in the NHL before, and he's never obviously seen he's obviously never played in the NHL, but hasn't really seen these NHL players maybe on TV even or whatnot. I'm sure he's heard of them. But that's probably some speed he's never seen in the KHL for sure. And well, guys, it ends on a sour note, 8-5 Edmonton. McDavid, Draisaitl, I mean, they're great players, but the Sens just made them look like no one could ever stop them. And yeah, it's hard to keep those guys off the board completely, but you don't have to let them get 5 points or 6 points in the same game. And the Sens really need to figure this out defensively. And I don't know, I mean, maybe it's time for a new coach. These guys it's not working. Their back end's not good. I think it's time for a new GM too. Pierre Dorion, as far as personnel decisions for bringing players in. Sorry. It's just not good enough. Like Goodbranson, Coburn, Josh Brown, these guys have been less than adequate. Mike Riley has had his struggles, but I mean, he was there last year. But Goodbranson and Coburn, especially Braden Coburn, my goodness, that guy's been pretty bad this year. I personally wouldn't mind if he sat out the rest of the season, to be honest. He looks so slow, so cooked. There was a play that could have been a penalty on him where Yamamoto got around him and Coburn was like way ahead of him at that point. And it's like, my goodness, if we had a faster D-man back there, that half breakaway doesn't even develop. But yeah, they got to figure that out. They got to go to a more smaller, faster team. And I don't mean really, you don't have to have really small guys, but my goodness, you don't have to always get the biggest, strongest guys on the block to win a Stanley Cup. It's all about speed and skill nowadays, and the Sens just look really slow in this fast skating Canadian division. But please let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Again, please, I'd like to know, what changes do you think the Sens need to make? Is it coaching? Is it the personnel's just too darn slow out there? Does Dorion need to lose his job? Because I think some of this is on him too. He needs to bear some of this weight. And I've always said before, as soon as they embarked on this rebuild, I said they need to fire Dorion, because you can't let the guy who made the mess clean it up. And that's very seldom that happens in the GM world in the NHL anyways. Is that the guy who makes the mess and brings the team down into the dumps is the guy who can get them out and make them rise on top of the mountain again. And I really don't know if Dorion's the guy that can get them there. I don't really know if DJ Smith is the coach that can get them there. But like I said, let me know all that and more in the comments below. Please like and subscribe and share this video. And thank you guys so much for watching this one. I'll talk to you again soon. I probably won't be watching the game Tuesday night, because that is a 10 o'clock game against the Oilers. I'll be back for the Thursday one against the Habs. That's a 7 o'clock game. They'll finally be back in the Eastern time zone. Hopefully the Sens will turn their fortunes around Tuesday night in Edmonton.